What's going on, guys? Charlie Jones here from the Armed and Successful podcast, a podcast all about arming yourself with the knowledge to be successful in life and business. Today's guest is both of those. You guys well know him from YouTube fame, success, glory, a lot of his events and more. Eric, Iraq, Vet 8888. Welcome to the podcast.
My man, thanks for having me. I appreciate that so much. And it's been a long couple of years I've been doing this, my man. So it's been a long time coming, but I'm happy to be here, and I'm glad that I can join you on today's podcast, man. How are you?
Dude, I'm great, man. I appreciate it. And again, I know you're a busy guy, and I appreciate you taking the time to be here with me. It means a lot.
Yeah, for sure. I really think what you're doing is such a positive message that you're trying to send out to people, to really strive for self-sufficiency and to be the best version of themselves that they can possibly be. And that's commendable. That's one of the reasons I wanted to join you today, because I feel like what you're doing is a really honorable thing. And it's good to lift people up and to, like you were saying before, not just necessarily always, hold down the 9 to 5, look for other avenues and everything like that. It's always a great thing to do. It's a good message.
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. So I'm going to start with, I've been following you for a while. And again, I don't go over these questions with anybody, so nothing that we haven't talked about, but I've been following you for a while. Big fan. You started with you and your friend, I believe in 2008, started the whole YouTube journey. So what was it like to go from, and I'll back up beyond that too, but what was it like to go from, your 9 to 5, so to speak, to jumping into YouTube, being one of the first people that was monetized and get into the business of things?
Well, what's crazy about it is the way that I always articulate this question. I get this question a lot, and the way I articulate the answer to people is I say, look, early on, there was no such thing as a social media influencer. You didn't have this, oh, you're a content creator, a social media influencer. This word influencer, that's a word that the industry created to describe what we are to them. Okay, they may view our input of this as being, the fact that we influence people to do things. And that may be the only value they see in us. And okay, quite frankly, I understand from a financial perspective. If we make them money and they only view us under the financial lens, well, that's fine. Money talks, I suppose. However, early on, and even to this day, it was always just about, getting together a great audience. And it felt really great in the early days to see people really enjoy what we were doing, enjoy the content we were putting out. And, I'm just a normal guy with a camera, putting out content, still working a regular 9 to 5. And as I said, the term social media influencer did not exist. Well, we sort of created our own job, so to speak. So early on, it was just all in good fun to just be making content. And then eventually you realize, like, wow, we're being paid some decent money. YouTube is starting to kind of back us here and send out some, ad revenue that they're collecting on the videos. Hey, companies are interested in supporting our efforts by, sending out guns, or in some cases, providing some capital to work with so we can increase the quality of the content. Okay. Ammo companies are stepping forward and saying, hey, we're going to send you some ammo and stuff like that. So eventually you go, wow, this is a thing. This is a thing. And realize that one day you wake up and your 9 to 5 sort of takes a back seat. And you realize, well, this is my 9 to 5. I'm so busy making content. I'm so busy working with clients and talking to fans and getting stopped in places. And I think that was the point that I realized, like, wow, I think I might have found my thing here. So,
wow,
definitely an interesting series of events to play out for sure.
Absolutely. So what? There has to be a point to where, just to your point, right, when you're saying you were doing your 9 to 5 and this kind of is your 9 to 5, what do you find is your biggest struggle in that now, this being quintessentially your full-time position, as you are an entrepreneur, you are the business. What do you find is your biggest struggle? For me, it's connections, right? What people see on TV and they think that I'm a different person when I'm not. Or Instagram or whatever, when it's really just me being me. Do you find that people are disconnected with you because of the perceived fame, or is it just helped you with your connections in the industry?
I would say that it's actually the opposite. people feel a much closer to connection to people like me because they've watched my content for years. I mean, for those that are uninitiated here, I've been making videos on YouTube for almost 17 years now. So
Mhm.
I guess, I'm kind of what you call one of the OGs. I've been doing this a long time.
Mhm.
And, for a YouTuber to be at this for 17 years, that's a long time. So, you would think that, there might be a certain group of people that go, well, Eric has gotten famous and he's too big for his head and too big for his britches and he's this or that. You're always going to have those types. If you obtain some form of success or wealth or fame, they're always going to try to downplay it and make it, less than what it is.
Mhm.
But then there's also going to be those people that are like, dude, I've been watching you since I was in high school. Some people have been watching me since they were in middle school and they go, I'm an adult now and I work a 9 to 5. And it's like, bro, I've been watching you since I was a little kid. And that resonates in a weird way with me because I'm like, wow, I've really been with this guy throughout his entire adult life, or lady, girl, whoever.
Sure.
But I think that once I really took the conversation over to Twitter. Now, if y'all aren't following me on Twitter, you definitely have to make sure you follow me over there. Iraq Veteran 88 official, shameless plug. But Twitter is where I'm the most active, and that's where the conversation
Mhm.
is. And what's cool is on Twitter, people get to really see a side of you that they may not see on just a simple YouTube exposure on YouTube video.
Mhm.
I'm not saying that the YouTube comment section isn't full of some doozies as well, because it is.
Mhm.
I do engage with the comment section, but Twitter is where the real conversation is occurring on a regular basis. And I think once people start to see, if they see more of your morals, your moral views, your principles, your religious views, your political views, the way that you look at problems, the way that you respond to scrutiny. Okay, if a hater does say, screw you, Eric, and you're this and that, and they
Mhm.
accuse me of something, well, my response to that person is public. So everyone can see how I handled that person, if I even chose to handle it. Sometimes I just
Sure.
let my viewers handle it, and they handle it for me. But if I respond to someone, whether good or negative, they're going to see the way that I conducted myself in that situation. So I think consistently being a good person, consistently trying your best to do your best by people, I think they recognize that in the long term, and I think that people end up respecting you in the end. The real ones know. I guess is what I'm really trying to say.
No,
Yeah,
absolutely, man. Absolutely. Great point too. Great point. Um, so to speak a little bit to your handle, the Iraq Vet 8888. I know where the 88 comes from. I think it's Dale Earnhardt Jr., correct? That's your
yeah,
favorite driver?
yeah,
Yeah, he's awesome, by the way.
yeah. Well,
So
what's crazy is my own YouTube username trolls me every day because I'm really not even that much into racing anymore. So here I am with this race related number in my handle, and I don't
uh,
even really watch racing anymore. So it's like I guess Dale Earnhardt Jr. trolls me every day. I guess and he doesn't realize
somebody,
it.
we got to have fun. We're all guys, right? We got to have
Yeah,
fun.
yeah, it's all good,
So
and it makes
but
people ask. So that's good too. The more people ask, hey, it keeps
mhm.
people talking. Whatever, let them
That's
talk.
awesome though, man. It sparks conversations. It keeps the energy going across the room.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
also to build on your name, you are a military combat veteran, I believe, from Iraq. So, and there's a lot of people, I'm sure, that are your fans, your viewers, and mine, and everybody else's. Right? We talked about this briefly before we jumped on. Me being prior law enforcement, you being military.
Mhm.
That seems to be the genre, so to speak, of the like the synergy that follows us or engages with a lot of like the 2A space. And I'm using air
Mhm.
quotes because, just on a side note, what I say to everybody all the time is 2A is expanded so far beyond just guns and ammo and good old boy network. I mean, we have brands, we have just communities. So it's phenomenal. But how do you think your time or the time that you served in the military helped you to transition from being a soldier to an entrepreneur? Because I'm sure there's a lot of people that right now, at least that I've found, that are in the military and police department are struggling to see what they're going to do when they leave. All right, guys, for those of you guys that are watching, we lost it briefly. I'm going to marry it together because I'm getting smarter as the day goes. I'm not getting any more hair, but I am definitely getting brain cells. So what I was asking Eric is, your prior experience in the military and myself in law enforcement. A lot of our viewers are that. What did you take or from the military that helped you transition from in the military to being an entrepreneur?
Well, I think that, no matter how much time someone spends in the military or law enforcement, even if it's a brief stint, for some, it's going to bring out the kind of person you really are. I think, it puts you in many situations in an environment where you're going to be forced to look in the mirror really hard, and it's gonna really force you to see who you really are, and it's gonna force you to be much more scrutinizing and in some cases accepting of the people that are around you. And I think that the military service especially does make you more worldly. I believe. I think if you just treat it like an experience that it is and try not to really control the situation, sort of just have a degree of stoicism about it,
Mm-hmm.
a negative situation can be extremely positive if you receive the things that it teaches you in the most open and honest way you possibly can. And I guess what
Mm-hmm.
I mean by that is it builds character. And I think that the person that you become in life as a civilian, post military and post law enforcement, is going to be molded directly by your experiences when you're in that moment. And when we look at the 2A world on YouTube, content creators, for instance, okay, you look at Tim at Military Arms Channel. I'm going to just name drop a few friends.
Please.
All right,
Yeah.
Tim at Military Arms Channel, he's a former Marine. All right, you look at Mr. Guns and Gear. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
he is a great guy. Former Special Forces, served in the military, all that sort of stuff. I mean, uh, you look at Kentucky Ballistics. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
Scott over there. He's a former, I think, Kentucky State Trooper. So he was
Correct.
law enforcement. Okay. And you look at Grand Thumb, right? Former Air Force officer, I believe. Okay. So
Mm-hmm.
we start to see a trend here. You look at me, I was in the military, I served in a guard unit and
Mm-hmm.
I was deployed in active duty in 0506. So I served in a mortar platoon. I was an infantry guy, really not a real fancy military career. So you have, folks that either did like all kinds of crazy things for multiple tours, or some people who had maybe a brief exposure or only a year or so in active duty in a deployment or something,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe someone who might have been a cop for an entire career. I mean, even Hickok served as a policeman for a long time.
Yeah.
So when we look at the 2A world, I think the one common denominator that we can actually see on, at least from a content creator standpoint on YouTube, is that many of our 2A content creators on YouTube are former military, special forces, rangers, former state troopers, police. Heck, they've all served in some capacity. And I think that speaks volumes about not only what people view of that content when they watch their content, they know they're getting it from a source that is humble and reliable
Mm-hmm.
and wants to have a great deal of integrity and fairness and honesty, but also a person who's not going to BS you either, like a person who's going to be pretty brutally honest about the things they're dealing with. And I think all in all, you're going to really see that amongst content creators on YouTube, is that most people are pretty straightforward. And I think that does come from the military and police service. You can't BS each other in law enforcement. You
Yeah.
can't BS each other in the military.
Yep.
Your decisions carry heavy consequences if you do something wrong. So I believe that sort of personal accountability translates over into the civilian world after you're done. And I think that people that are struggling to maybe find a purpose after they leave the military, they leave
Mm-hmm.
law enforcement. Someone served in the military for 20, 25 years, whatever. What do you do after 25 years in the belly of the beast? How do you transition back to normal society and become a normal person again? What does that look like for you?
Yeah.
And I think that I would always just, encourage people to just, find their voice and remember who they are, remember where they came from, and do what makes them happy, and just be honest and bring that integrity to the forefront in what you do moving forward. And I
No,
think that's
and
what most people have done.
yeah, I mean, you're right. And you spoke to a lot of the things that people are suffering from, and just really wondering about their life. And for anybody watching too, and this is not a selfless plug, but it's something I'm really passionate about. My goal this year was to help 50 people start 50 businesses. I'm at 40 right now. If you're a vet, if you're a police officer, if you're anybody struggling with that transition, because I know it myself personally, when you leave the military, you leave the police department, you think that's all you know. And there really isn't. There's more help now, but there wasn't back then, to help translate your MOS or your position into the civilian life, as to what, you can door kicker. How does that assimilate to, the business life? Or if you want to just start a business, please send me a DM or contact one of us. We'll get you guys in touch with the right people, because this is what I'm super passionate about. It's one of the reasons why I started this podcast. So again, thank you again for taking the time, because I know you're a busy guy.
If I could choose, exactly the type of people that I would want to do business with in the business world, I would always prefer a military or law enforcement owned company, veteran owned company.
Mhm.
Again, not a shameless plug, but one of the companies I work with here on the channel to produce content is Otis Technologies. They
Mhm.
make the pull through cleaning kits. I'm sure many of you who are in the military remember the little black pouches they issued us with the little pull through cleaning kits. And a lot of police guys have probably issued them as
Mhm.
well. But they're a great, veteran-owned company, great people, and I like partnering with people that have like-minded sort of philosophy about work ethic and, the way we view the Second Amendment. And I believe that, being a former military law enforcement does bring a certain edge to the table that is going to, make you a pretty nice-handed business person. And, you're going to always seek out fairness. You're always going to seek out opportunity. You're always going to seek out a mutually beneficial situation. Or maybe, I guess, depending on the kind of person you are, you may go into it like a shark. I mean, and that's fine too, I suppose.
Yeah.
But I think most of us, we definitely operate in the realm of fairness, and we always want to see everyone in the business relationship be happy. And I
Yeah.
find that military and law enforcement owned companies tend to understand that ethos so much more than other companies that aren't. So yeah, if I could choose to do business, it definitely would be, veteran owned companies, because they know what's up.
Yeah. And
They're not
the
going to
same here.
BS you about the results either. They're going to be like, hey, this is what's happening. XYZ, boom, there it is. And that's it.
Yeah, that's true. And speaking to that point about doing business with other veteran law enforcement owned companies and such, every year, I'm sure most of you guys that watch this, or if you haven't been inducted or indoctrinated or whatever you want to say, um, you've heard about, your events every year, the Iraq Vet 8888, the shooting, the crazy events that you guys have every year. I try to make it this year. I couldn't make it, but I promise you next year, I'll send you a message, get me an invite, and come out there. But
Yeah.
how important, because I talk about this to a lot of people, right? So those events, of course, are costly. Of course, not just costly monetarily, but mentally. Like, you're putting a piece of yourself in everything, and the stress level has got to be kind of crazy, even though it's enjoyable.
Oh yeah.
So, to your point about business with law enforcement and veteran-owned companies, how important to you is networking as an entrepreneur, especially in this space, and especially when you're hosting these huge events, which are phenomenal. I mean, I see them, and it's not often I watch things and I'm jealous that I'm not there.
Yeah. Well, that event has been going on for a long time. I think this last year was our 12th annual, year that we've been doing the range day. And that range day was originally, well, and it still is. The
Mhm.
purpose of that range day is for content creators and companies to get together and share resources, network, as well as produce content, show off the newest and greatest, that sort of thing. And quite frankly, just have fun. Our shoot has always been about having fun and enjoying yourself. And a lot of content creators get access to some guns that they might not normally get to shoot at their everyday range, machine guns and such.
Mhm.
Now, in terms of the importance of networking to put on such an event, absolutely. I mean, we have to send dozens of emails to dozens of people. We have to handle all sorts of logistics on the back end that people never see. All they see is all the fun that happens on the front line of the range. But I mean, yeah, there's all the little, beans and what I call beans and bullets.
Mhm.
I mean, look, you have 500 people at a range. They all have to go to the bathroom somewhere. They all have to eat. They all have to have water. so there's all these little considerations, we have to have tables and chairs and canopies and
Mhm.
all the, that kind of minutia. But then it's also, hey, putting on a range event costs a lot of money. How are we going to pay for all this?
Yeah, for
Well,
sure.
we have a system for that. And, the companies come in and, you know, patronize a little money towards the effort, and everyone does well. We have to pay, various people to help put on the range day, and we cater the food, so we have to have plans to feed 500 people, 2 meals, which, is logistically challenging, can be
Mhm.
challenging, I suppose. Now, we do want to do a public range day this upcoming year, is my hope.
Wow.
And it is a private event, but my goal in the future is to do a public version of the event and have the public come out. But that's going to require a special venue, because I'm thinking, if I got 3 or 4 of my fellow content creators to kind of put a blast out saying, hey, we're doing the first ever annual public Iraq veteran range day event, be there, be square. I have no idea how many people will really show up. It could be a few thousand, it could be
Easily.
5,000, it could be 10,000. We have no idea how many people could show up. And the last thing that we would ever want to have happen would be for someone to show up thinking they're going to come to this epic range day and, they don't have anywhere to park.
Yeah.
The food trucks are too, you know, full, or,
Hmm.
name your poison for some issue to come up. So we may have to do it on a ticket basis, or like on a limited amount of attendees, because we just open up the floodgates. That might be a little disastrous depending on how much we open those floodgates. But,
Or even, you know what? Sorry to stop you, but maybe a lottery system.
well, yeah, a lottery system would be fun, but I think the way we'll probably wind up doing it is having like a registration RSVP system, and you'll have to go in, and once the RSVPs are up,
Yeah.
that's it. Maybe we can have a few ifs, like, have a group of people who's on a backup list in case someone don't
Hmm.
show up. But that might be how we have to do it. We may have to
Hmm.
pre-sell tickets or something like that. Hey, to reserve your space, pre-buy your ticket or something. We'll come up with some sort of thing. But
Sure.
the first public range day is going to be epic,
I
and
can't wait, man.
everyone's
I
going to want to
love
be
how we're still doing a podcast and ideas are coming out. This is
there.
why I love to surround myself with people like you. And it's kind of like, if you ever get a chance to come out here, you see kind of what I have brewing. I've got a large facility. I've got tons of offices, warehouse and such too. But essentially, everybody I do business with the exception of some investments, are here in this space. So we just every day somebody will walk by my office and say, "Hey, I got an idea. Come on in." And it just goes on the wall, and then we just get into it. What's the sit rep on this? What are we doing on this? So I love this kind of conversation.
Yeah, that's exactly how I do things here. Earlier, before we started the podcast, we were discussing like how, sometimes it can feel like you're part of a very tiny skeleton crew, and that skeleton crew sometimes it's just you. And I do the same thing downstairs. I have a big whiteboard, and if I have a video idea, I
Mhm.
jot it down on the whiteboard. And it may take me a month or two to get to that video. It may take 6 months to get to that video. I've got video ideas that I still intend on doing that I wrote down last year. It may not happen this year. And whether it's because I don't have the resources or the time, or, sometimes scheduling didn't work out. Sometimes a video requires me to build some props that, quite frankly, I just haven't gotten around to doing yet. But yeah, I know what you mean. Sometimes it's cool to just jot down some ideas, and you never know. You just throw some spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks.
Oh, for sure, man. And speaking of the same thing, we're talking about the content creator aspect of things. I'm sorry, I think I lost you for a second. But speaking to your point about the content creator thing, one thing that I've realized, and I won't name names, but I'll just ask you a personal question about this. Getting in the content space of the gunfluencers and such, um, it seems to be that there's an overabundance of people in the space, to me at least, and I'm just asking your opinion, that some are taking advantage of the system instead of utilizing it like you and I do to kind of give back to the community. What's your thoughts about how crowded the space is? I mean, I'm personally, I'm everybody come who can come, right? Like open the doors and come on in, but act accordingly. and make sure that you're giving back. Like one of the biggest things I tell people is give without expectation and you'll receive tenfold. But what I personally found, and I'm just wondering what your opinion is do you think the space is crowded, and are you seeing the same thing I'm seeing where there's people taking advantage of the system, so to speak?
I think that it would be dangerous to name names or make accusations against specific people. However, I would say that you are correct. It would seem that they're probably, I mean, okay, naturally, if a door is open, you're going to walk
Mhm.
through it. I understand that. And to YouTube's credit, they have created an environment that is very friendly to content creators and has probably gotten easier for content creators to, seek out some initial fame. There's a lot of up and coming YouTube content creators that rightly so. I mean, yeah, there's got to be new content creators because eventually, we're not all going to want to do this forever. So someone else has to
Sure.
do it. Now, granted, I'm going to be doing it until they kick me out and turn the lights off behind me. But me, I'm a hardworking, I'm a dog, man. I'm always going to
Yeah, man.
chase. But however, there are people that come and go. And of course, there are probably more that are coming than are going. And is that to say that that people that are getting specifically in the 2A space just because they see an opportunity to make some money, perhaps is that a bad thing? It's not necessarily a bad thing. I'm a capitalist. I get
Mhm.
that. If someone's creating engaging, entertaining content that happens to involve guns and they can make a living doing it, more power to them. I
Yeah.
think they should. But I do think that there is an obligation, especially that some of us larger guys have, to try and be involved on the political front a little bit more, and to use our platform and our voice to speak out against discrepancies that we see and attacks on our rights and everything. So a couple of years back, I joined Gun Owners of America. I'm the Georgia State
Mhm.
Director for GOA, which from a position standpoint, Georgia is a fairly straightforward state for 2A. We have a great state legislature. Very rarely do we see anything anti-gun get passed down. So
Mhm.
luckily, my job is fairly easy in the state of Georgia. But I think that what I help out with GOA more is on the messaging, getting the word out about things, and even on the federal front. Even though federal is not really my job within
Mhm.
GOA, so to speak, or my title, I still put out federal alerts. And Eric Pratt and I do, kind of like a catching up on the second episode every month that we put up on the channel, and that helps keep
Uh-huh.
people informed. And that's coming right from the horse's mouth. That's coming right from Eric Pratt's mouth himself.
Yeah.
So there you are hearing it. That would be like someone working with NRA and then, I don't know, having Wayne LaPierre on their channel to help, something like that. That's what's the
Sure.
equivalent of.
Yeah, it makes sense.
So I think it's important that content creators get involved and try to do what they can to use their platform to further the cause of the Second Amendment and to help protect our rights in that front. Now, some people get involved more on the training front. Okay, maybe they do more actual training classes and things like that, and their
Mhm.
content is kind of a vehicle to drive that training. That's fine. Training is still a way of giving back, even though, yeah, as a trainer, you're being paid or whatever. And yeah, maybe the
Mhm.
content's making you money, but that's part
Mhm.
of it. Like, that's your job in that case. I don't see a problem with it. If someone's just creating a bunch of entertaining content and they never say anything political, they never say anything about anti gun stuff going on, I do view that as a little bit of a black eye because you're using a platform that many of us worked really hard to garner to get this platform where it
Mhm.
is. I mean, in the early days, YouTube was a very small fledgling kind of company. It could have sank or swim, and it took a lot of us to help get it where it is now. And
Mhm.
especially on the 2A front, we've fought really hard over the years to try to make sure that content creators in the 2A space have a place, a
Mhm.
voice on YouTube. And, it wasn't until recent years that we never even had any representation with YouTube at all. And
Yeah.
now we at least have a number we can pick up and call and be able to voice a concern or ask a question or have something dealt with, sort of a manager, so to speak. So
Mhm.
in years past, you had to join a multi-channel network to even think about getting some form of
That's
representation
true.
because it was
Yeah.
only the big guys who had access to YouTube directly. But then YouTube, got wise and realized, wow, like we need to make this, we need to make ourselves more available to a wider variety of people who are using our platform.
Sure.
Especially once you shoot a number across the table that says, hey, here's the amount of money and ad revenue you're affecting by screwing with these people. Crap, we didn't realize it was that kind of a number. So then they go,
Yeah.
wow, oh, the capitalist turns on and they go, oh, crap, like it's
Mhm.
costing us money. So, you hit someone in the purse strings and that tends to have an effect. But, for the people who are Johnny come lately and they're, getting a new start in YouTube and they're creating gun content and making a name for themselves, I encourage them to do it. But I just also would encourage them to remember that nothing is free. And, we have to really make sure that we are holding our representatives accountable and that we're holding the government accountable to us and that we are being accountable to each other.
I love that. I mean, it's the truth, man. And thank you for elaborating on my question because that's kind of what I was expecting you to do. It's really, really good, man. So I'll close out with this. And speaking of holding people accountable, what's next for Iraq Vet 8888? What's the next plateau? Where's your trajectory? I mean, it can only go up. It's continue to go up and up and up. But what's next, man? Are you hiding anything crazy behind the curtain or?
Well, so it's funny how you asked that because earlier when you asked what some of the struggles were, like you said, and I don't think I ever really answered the question to like what some of the struggles a content
Mhm,
creator might have after so many years. Well, part of it is, staying motivated to want to keep making content. Look, burnout is a thing.
mhm,
After 15, 1,700 videos over a course of 17 years, it's like after a while you do get a little burned out. So I think fighting the burnout is important.
mhm.
I've been getting in the gym, getting my working out in. I've been powerlifting. That's
Yeah, I've
been
been
good
seeing
to
your
keep me
videos.
focused. Keep me in good shape, keep my mind sharp. Uh, I don't know if we want to go over this, but um, last year,
Open
I got
book.
on TRT, and I've been getting my testosterone levels in check. And as you get
Mhm,
older, that helps a lot. And I think also it's just mentally having yourself in a position where you're eager to work, you're eager and hungry,
mhm,
and I think that's the thing that the larger content creators have to really always fight is hey, we have to outdo everything that we've already ever done in our career. A small content creator who can just make a video and then make another video, they don't have a lot to go on
mhm,
to compare to in the past. But a guy like me who's been putting out content for 17 years, I am my own worst competition in a way because it's like,
mhm.
how do I outdo some of the crazy things that I've already
Yeah.
done? How do I fight the burnout and fight the, you know, that eventual burnout that will
Mhm.
come? And I think that I'm doing that quite well. I've got a new cameraman now. We're back to filming. We're kicking butt. We're doing all kind of cool stuff. And I
Nice.
think the future is going to involve, rehashing a lot of the older concepts with better quality and with a little more money behind it, I believe. And
Mhm,
also just continuing to keep up with the technology and the legal situations that are going on, the political situations that are going on, more of that, of course,
mhm,
and answering some of the age old questions and new questions. And most importantly, staying eager to learn and always being a student. And I think that the future for me will be just like the past was over the last 17 years for me. Just a guy who continues to document what I see and to be honest about what I see in front of me every day and to share that with like minded people. I mean, at the end of the day, I suppose that's really all it ever has been and ever will be. It's more of the same, but we always want to kick it up a notch. So
yeah.
we'll see. We might have some crazy stuff in the docket. So,
Well, for those of us like myself who've been following you for a while, we want to continue to see more. And I just wanted to quickly thank you too for touching on a subject that I haven't brought up yet in podcasts, but it is men's health. You talked about TRT. Listen, I'm the first person to tell everybody I'm on TRT. I went and got checked. Men, if you're watching this, once you hit 30, your testosterone drops in half. And I guarantee if you're watching this and if you get your numbers checked properly, you're deficient in vitamin B12, D3, and zinc. Those three things, along with your TRT, could be some of the reasons why you're feeling not like yourself. You're feeling sluggish. Your
yeah,
brain's foggy. You're not able to. It's not about going to the gym and lifting heavy because once you get past 30, most of us have done crazy stuff in our days and our shoulders are broken, our backs are broken. It's just about living a comfortable, healthy life. And just like Eric said, and brought up and alluded to, please go and get your testosterone checked, get your blood work done, and make sure you're taking care of yourself.
one thing I want to add is that a lot of people think that it's some macho thing. I think that they misplace their worry in that, and they go, well, I
Mhm.
don't want to go get my testosterone checked because I'm worried that if it's low, oh, I'm not manly or anything like that. Don't turn it into a macho thing, guys. If you're over 30, you need to have your testosterone checked. Period. Just do
Mhm.
it. Go get the blood work done. Hey, if it's normal, cool. It might be normal. But I mean, look, not to get on this freaking crazy rabbit hole of a trip here, but they put all this crap in our food and all these growth hormones and all these chemicals and pesticides and all the random crap that they're putting in people's food.
Mhm.
And I think that it does have some developmental issues, especially if you're a younger person now. As you get older, you might see that some of these dietary choices, the conveniences of a fast and modern society might not have played too well on our health over the years. Okay, so don't neglect it. Get it checked because I know it sucks. And look, I'm one of those kids that grew up hating shots. I was always the kind of kid that when I didn't want to go to school, my mom would take me to the pediatrician and always make me get booster shots. And I
Yes.
hated needles. I didn't like it. And when I started doing TRT, I'm like, oh, you mean I have to shoot myself in the freaking leg with a needle,
Yep.
And for a while, it was a little weird and awkward. You get used to it. I promise it doesn't freaking matter. And
Mhm.
you will feel so great once you get on TRT. You will not give two craps about sticking yourself in the leg.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's just my 2 cents. I'm glad we touched on that briefly there, Charles. But look, it is important for your health to make sure that you are mentally strong, physically strong, and those things both coincide with the kind of person you're going to be moving forward and the quality of the work you're going to put out as a person. And I realized that there were some deficiencies in my life I needed to handle. Yeah, I need to get back in the gym. I need to get my TRT on point. I need to get my diet
Mhm.
on point. And those are all part of a full prong attack for how I'm going to move forward, running my channel. So it's like, nothing wrong. Sometimes you got to get the bitch out.
Yeah, that's it, man. And
Yeah.
again, thank you for touching on that because it's really important to me, especially health nowadays as I'm getting older and older and older to talk about that. So thank you again for being on the podcast, man. I look forward to talking to you more. Continue to watch it. And please, if you guys are not already following him on Twitter, on Instagram, on YouTube, go do it because you might learn a cool new trick or just something new about your life that you didn't know.
Or bad habit.
Yeah. Thanks again, brother. I'll talk to you soon.
All right. See you, Charles. Thanks, man.